Namaskar. Welcome to episode 19 of Satyagraha series. In this series, we try to bring forward the environmental issues and societal issues that are impacting us or that have the potential to impact us in future. Now, I personally try to confine myself towards environmental issues. Similarly, today we thought of organizing a session to bring forward the real cause for Hyderabad floods. Now, rain is occurring in almost every part of Telangana, but the damage is more pronounced in the regions in and around Hyderabad. So, in today's session, we will try to identify the real root cause behind this damage. Now, before before this session, when I was preparing for this session, I read some articles. I talked to panelists, and I found out that the real reason is not natural calamity. It is more. It is more than that. And in this session, we'll try to comprehend that more. Now, I would like to share some data of the present destruction. Uh, now, these are today's figure. Now, around 81 people have lost their lives in these floods, and the state has posted a loss of around 9,000 crores. 9,000 crores of rupees, the loss have been posted. So, we'll start with a brief introduction of the speakers, and then we'll proceed with the session. Now, today, we have with us two of the eminent panelists. We have with us Dr. Jasween Jairat, and we have with us Mr. Kali Sastri. Now, both of these activists have been involved in conservation activities for quite a while now. Both are vocal about it and has sensitized the local population to create a mass movement. Now, before moving forward, I would request both the speakers to give a brief introduction about themselves so that the viewers can connect with them and what motivates them towards lake conservation activities. So I would like to start with Dr. Jasween Jarat. Dr. Jasween Jarat, a very warm welcome to you. Thanks for taking out time for being with us. And yeah, stage is over to you.
Okay. Um, I have a background in technology and social sciences, uh, engineering, and economics. And I have been engaged throughout my professional career with the politics of water resource development, with a particular focus on its access, utilization, and control, and the trajectories it has taken, the trajectories of technical development, technological choices, and how these choices impact differentially the different sections of the community, and whose agenda are they promoting, and who are the people in whose name this development is undertaken, but who are the people who are deprived of access to the benefits created by such technological developments and choices and so on and so forth. So that's been my basic focus it's been a question of equity, question of differential access to water resources, which is a lifeline of all the communities. And I'm basically from a research and academic background. And lately, during the later years, I became very actively involved in the activist movement at the city level, and was part of instituting part of a group that set up Save Our Urban Lakes. This is not an NGO. It is not funded by any donor. And this was a deliberate decision taken by the group, because once you're financially independent, then it guarantees your political independence. And for us, it was very important to speak from a politically independent platform, where we are not subject to any pressures or any vested interests or anything that diverts us from the true reality on the ground. So I think I will leave it at that, and over to the next speaker, panelist.
Thank you, Dr. Jasween. Now I request Mr. Kali to please share his please share a small introduction and what motivates him for lake conservation activities. Over to Mr. Kali. Mr. Kali, can you hear us?
Hello,
Hello, yeah, we can hear
are
you.
you able to hear me?
Yes, yes.
Yes, please. Yeah, very good evening, everyone. This is Kali Shastriya, and hailing from the freedom fighting family. We are looking for the betterment of the citizens' life. That is the main motive of my life, and looking after many root causes. After in-depth research done for the 2 decades, I found that the calamities or the distress or the situations which are being faced by citizens are not blessed, they are cursed. So henceforth I went into the research and understood that the root cause has to be educated, highlighted, and pinpointed properly for the betterment. And water is the most important element of the life, where it is the right of a citizen. Coming to the point of lake conservation, I have been actually participating in this activities since more than 1.5 decade, and understood that the lakes which have been playing a predominant role in the lives of a citizen have been grabbed by a political motive to earn money with their lust. And I have gone in-depth research of understanding the root cause and the loopholes in the system which are encouraging this type of activities. Until and unless these are curbed, the forthcoming generations cannot live peacefully. That hello,
We can hear you.
hello, yeah. So that's
Hello.
and hello. I-
Yes, 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 Mr. Kali, we can hear you.
yes, please. So we hail from the very education family. So I understood that until and unless we throw some light on the concept, it
Mhm.
it cannot be taken into consideration, or we can overrule these type of activities for a betterment. So I have actually involved in all this of right protest and everything, including I have seen the reason of the banking scams, which are that's a different concept as well. But to give you a brief introduction, I understood the reason of the banking scams also a part of this lake activity, because in forthcoming discussion I will reveal those facts as well. That's it as of
Right.
now. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Kali. Now let's proceed with the session. The first question I want to ask Dr. Jasween. Dr. Jasween, what is the real cause of this calamity? When I was reading, I found out that some are pointing it towards the natural calamity. That okay, there's a depression in Bay of Bengal, and this type of floods, this type of rain, usually happens in almost every year. And some are attributing it to climate change. So, what is the real cause behind these floods in Hyderabad?
I think attributing it to natural causes or climate change, which is a very global phenomena, you cannot blame any single person or party or any agency for that. It is a very convenient excuse for the establishment, for the local government, and for the establishment, and not just the present government, but all the preceding governments, because floods happen every year in Hyderabad. Maybe they have been a little more severe this year, but they have been happening all over. So it is very convenient for them to escape their responsibility and put the blame on God, on nature, on climate change, on vague and uh, amorphous things. So it's they would like to get a sympathy by absolving themselves of their contribution towards creating this crisis. Now, floods will happen not when there is a very heavy rainfall or when there is less rainfall. Floods happen when the rainfall and the capacity to manage the water flows, when there is an imbalance between these two. So you can have floods even with very little rainfall, On the other hand, you may not have floods even during a very heavy rainfall. It all depends on what was your preparation, what is your capacity to deal with the excessive concentrated water flows during the rainy period. And Hyderabad and the surrounding areas, in fact, even Telangana, had a brilliant system of cascading lakes. You see, this is an undulating terrain. So these lakes are all artificial lakes. They are not natural. So it is to the credit of the erstwhile rulers for 400 years, this system of cascading lakes, which means there is a lake at a higher level. And when there is excessive flow, the overflow of that lake through a proper channel is fed into a lower lake at a lower level. And when that lake gets filled up, the overflow goes through a proper channel to a lake at a lower level. Ultimately, there is a channelized, designed, and directed flow to the Musi River, which is your natural drainage point, which is what all rivers are. They drain the water from the surrounding landmass. So this was a design thing, and which has worked very well for more than 400 years. Now, when you disrupt this system, which has withstood the test of time, by rampant construction, by reducing the water holding capacity of these water bodies, by destroying the outflow channels, which are a channelized path, a narrow channelized path directing the water to Musi River. When you obstruct this, then naturally the water is going to be held up there, because water does not have any exit point. So that is what we call a flood. So this is clearly created through a nexus between the politicians, between the real estate mafia, and between the governance agencies like the bureaucracy. The irrigation department, the revenue department, the MAUD, they are sanctioning permissions. They are giving NOCs to build buildings in the lake FTLs, in the lake buffer zones, which is banned by Supreme Court. It is against the laws of land, laws of the land. The legal system does not allow you to do that. However, we have a scandalous example very recently, when the MAUD or whatever they have created, or the irrigation department in charge of Hussain Sagar, they have created an island in the middle of Hussain Sagar. This is a public scandal. It is downright illegal. But when such things are happening in broad daylight, I call it a public plunder, and plunder by the powerful politicians who have a vested interest when you create land out of water, which has a money value. There is loads and loads of money per square yard. Suddenly money emerges from a water surface, and that money goes to support elections, is fed to the politicians. So this is a kind of a nice little cozy arrangement that the powerful people, the ones, the decision makers, they have a nice cozy arrangement to make a lot of money by destruction of the water bodies and the channels, water channels of Hyderabad. And this system is continuing irrespective of which party is in power, and no political party takes it up as an election issue. I am shocked. No political party till today. They keep fighting about mandir and masjid, but nobody will take up the cause of water bodies of Hyderabad. And that is a shame for all the political parties. In fact, I will go to the extent that the Geo 111, which has been legislated by the Supreme Court, the local elections, the last elections in 2014, the local MLA, MP, whoever won from there, won on the plank that we will get Geo 111 diluted or removed, so that the large water bodies like Osman Sagar and Himayat Sagar which have been the saving grace of Hyderabad from floods all these years, you will have rampant construction around them, which is banned under GO 111, and therefore that politician won. So when you have this kind of an illiterate and a degenerate mental outlook of our politicians, how can you expect? And there are people who, for their private gain, they vote for such, that those politicians win elections on such degenerate demands, which is a destruction of this city, of its history, of its heritage, and of its water security. We are damaging the water security which we inherited, and we have damaged it for more than 50 years consistently. Hussain Sagar has been reduced to 1/4 of its size. Until 30s, it was providing drinking water to the city. So this is absolutely shocking, and any nonsense about blaming natural disaster or blaming climate change is really trying to, वो हिंदी में कहते हैं ना, आंखों में धूल झोंकना. It is to confuse the public. That is, so I squarely blame the political establishment in cahoots with real estate mafia and the bureaucracy for ruining this city's water security system, which was in place. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Jasbeen.
Yeah.
Mr. Sastry, do you want to add something to that?
Yes, please. Adding to Jaswin's ma'am's version, I'm totally agree with her. And in addition to her version, I would like to state I would not call this as a flooding. Rather, it is the tears of the lake which was shed and making the world know how they are being crushed by these politicians, land grabbers, goons, and lack of governance. So it is not the water which came from the sky. Actually, it is a blessing, but it has become a curse for the citizens, as the lakes are asking where we have to live. Today, when they have been encroached and the total concrete constructions have been developed, crushing the beauty of the city, where earlier in Nizam's rule, it was called as Lake City, which used to give drinking water, cultivation, and naturally formed water. And it was earlier stated in the 1960 as well that the lakes are supplying crystal clear water. Can we witness that right now? No, because with the support of political entities, I can say of any party, the water which was being polluted with chemicals, sewage, and the fishermen used to live over here on the basis of lakes are not witnessed right now. They are only for eyewash, I can say. And no political party has taken an interest, and nor even the government agencies. The second major drawback of losing the lakes in Hyderabad is, especially I can say in Telangana and Hyderabad, is that there is no proper supervision. There is no proper department which works for the safety and saving of the lakes. Always they shift the responsibility, and they shockingly, the earlier maps of the lakes and today's, it had got a very major impact of losing maximum extent of the lake area. If you go to the like we call it as Ora Cheruvu or Pedda Cheruvu here, Pakalakunta Lake, all these have been habited more than 100 acres. Can we witness right now? Not at all. In reality, on ground, they are only in tens, like around 60 acres of Ora Cheruvu and 20 acres of Pakalakunta. What happened to the extent? So they have been formed, they have been grabbed overnight, I can say, with the support and the lack of government officials support. So I can term it as, it is not the efficiency of the land grabbers in successful in making the success of real estate ventures, rather than the inefficiency of the particular department not executing their duties properly. Henceforth, we are facing this flooding and destruction to the human life in Hyderabad as on date.
Thank you, Mr. Kali. So basically, what the speakers are saying is that this particular flood is actually man-made because the drainage capacity has been blocked by rampant urbanization, by corrupt politicians, corrupt bureaucrats, and corrupt government officials. The Supreme Court, Dr. Jasween has mentioned, the Supreme Court has given an order that the lakes cannot be encroached for urbanization, but still this particular thing is going on. So, Dr. Jasween, how can this happen? Like Supreme Court has given an order that the lake cannot be encroached. Government officials, you have especially mentioned the department like irrigation department, real estate department, revenue department, they're giving NOCs on that. But how can any government department can go?
Well, well, they are doing it, and sometimes the construction is taken up without any permission. So when there is a honest government officer, or when the files do not budge, wo dhakka maar ke they just bulldoze their way. Not only that, sometimes like the Malcolm Chervu, there is a case in the High Court filed by a very senior police officer because she has her building right next to the lake. The High Court has ordered that they are not supposed to violate, but GHMC, and I challenge anybody from GHMC to come to the site, and I will show them what they are doing. They have dumped mud inside the boundary which they had created. And a road is being created, and they are now changing the boundary towards further interior towards the lake. GHMC has made a special platform inside the water spread of the lake for the immersion of Ganesh statues. This is the most stupid and criminal thing they are doing. In no Hindu religion has it been mentioned that you are allowed to, or in the name of religion or Ganesh Puja, that you should damage or pollute a water body. This is absolutely a concession, an electoral concession to the mob mentality that is hyped up again by the political parties. Religion is also brought into. How dare you make a platform? How dare GHMC make a platform for the immersion of the Ganesh? There is no legal sanction for this. It is an illegal thing, and GHMC has done it. So GHMC has been guilty of committing an illegal act. And I challenge, this is an open public challenge. Let the commissioner of GHMC come with me to Malcolm Chervu. I will show him on site. And this is a contempt of court. Why is no action being taken against GHMC? I am petitioner of a case regarding the damage to Naya Kila Talab within the Naya Kila, which is a heritage precinct. For the last 8 years, why has my case not come up for hearing? Because that has been occupied and marauded by the Hyderabad Golf Club. The Hyderabad Golf Club has an office inside Shahatam Talab. They have the cheek and the audacity to put a board over there. You know, the board always carries an address. It says Hyderabad Golf Association, Shah Hatam Talab. That board is standing there. We have pictures of that. Anybody can go and see. Shah Hatam Talab was 75 acres as per the original data, government data. I'm not talking about my or activist data. We are talking of legal technical data on records. The entire Nadeem colony has been built inside Shah Hatam Talab. It is inside, not in the buffer zone. And every year they get flooded. And every year they will demand relief. Every year they will start crying hoarse. Maitri Vanam is in a low-lying area. It's a government building, you know. And all the low-lying area, the water enters the basement. There are endless examples. Patel Chervu. There are twin talkie theaters. There was a case where judge has admitted that yes, they are built on top of Nala. Today there is a flourishing restaurant on top of a Nala. He has covered the Nala, letting the Nala flow from underneath, encroached, and he's running a restaurant. Where are these governance agencies? What is the police doing? What is GHMC doing? What are these politicians doing? Because they are getting a cut. Because these people pay their way. You can purchase a violation of water bodies. You can violate a water body, then pay the people who take action and buy your safety. So this is a system. This is a shopkeeping. Yahan bazaar chalta hai. You can pay and get away with murder because this is murder of the water bodies. There are umpteen such examples. We can take you on the, if any government person has the courage, I challenge them, come with us. We will take you on a site tour to show you on the ground the violations. Forget about secondary data. Forget about photographs. Forget about GPS. We will show you. Endless number. Yellama Cheruvu, Kapra Lake. Kapra Lake has a tennis court over there. And High Court, even sometimes the cases are not heard, or High Court takes a very, it's a judicial process, is a long drawn process. But how many demolitions are there compared to the violations? People are selling their buildings, their real estate projects, Lakeview apartments. That is utter fraud. Please be careful, anybody. Never buy Lakeview apartments because they are illegal. And then the present government will build that overhead bridge on Durgam Cheruvu. Why spend money on such cosmetic and, very superficial and very superfluous projects? You destroy the lake underneath, then you build a bridge across, and then all the citizens will come and go gaga over it and celebrate and have a party over there. It's absolutely ridiculous. The water violators are hand in glove with the politicians and with the bureaucrats. And the police does nothing. Akbaruddin Owaisi, his building is being made inside the lake. Nobody has the guts to take action against him. Similarly, there are a lot of politicians from all political parties. It's not just one. They are all political parties are into land grabbing. Sorry to say. And we vote them into power.
Dr. Jasween, I think one of our viewers has asked the same question, that the impunity of local politicians, that local politicians are floundering the ruling of Supreme Court and High Court. And I think you have answered this by saying that there's a cut of every department. There's the cut of corporation, there's a cut of bureaucrats, there's a cut of police, and there's the cut of concerned person. Am I right on this part?
See, these are not things one can legally prove. This all happens, but there is a collusion. So there is no, you can't, these things never happen. There's no legal evidence. But we know a lot of this thing happens under the table. So I cannot make a claim that I have a picture or I have legal proof. But without this collusion, things can't work. This is the way our system is. It's steeped in corruption. And therefore, the rich and the powerful get away with whatever they want to do, even by flouting laws and rules. And action is not taken. If action had to be taken, there is loads and loads of data. Every day complaints are going. I mean, Dr. Lubna Sarwat is sending a barrage and series of complaints to them every day, to the Chief Justice, to the Chief Minister, to the ministers, to the commissioners, to everybody. Where is the response? I haven't seen any effective response. And how can you create an island in Hussain Sagar without official blessing? Who has created that? If it is a government, then the government is in the docks. There is an STP inside Hussain Sagar. How can you have an STP inside the water body?
Right.
No, it's ridiculous. And none of the STPs are working, by the way. So the water is all dirty.
Mr. Kali, I have one question for you. Like you have said that lake land is being encroached. Like if I talk about municipal corporation, like if I have to buy a house, I have to get a map approved by corporation. So aren't there any maps available of the legacy lakes? And if they are available, then why can't they be challenged? And who is responsible for managing these lakes? Why no one is raising the voice? The concerned department is not raising the voice that a particular lake is being encroached by illegal means.
I would like to answer this with a detailed understanding of how this like grabbing will happen normally. The first thing is these lake grabbers or the land grabbers with the political support start encroaching the lakes in the public holidays, which I have witnessed in the last 2 decades. This is the very simple logic to understand how the encroachment happen. So they will take, let us take, this is a Dasara. They will find Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, no one will work. These 4 days, they will dump the soil into the lakes, converting them into the ventures. When we try to knock the doors of any official, they will say we look into the matter the next working day. By that time, a piece and parcel of the land gets grabbed. First, second, the shape of the lake gets cut into pieces. Like 100 acres will be into the 90 acres. Shockingly, we will be witnessing a revised FTL map, which is an unlawful word. Revised itself is the government officials
Correct.
are accepting encroachment. How
Yes,
can we?
very good.
This is a 100 rupees means 100. You cannot make it tomorrow 90 or 80.
Absolutely. Very good.
So that itself is a clear understanding that with
Yeah.
the support of the officials, this grabbing act will happen. And
Yes.
I have knocked the doors of irrigation, GHMC, HMDA, Lake Protection, whatever, what all not. I have knocked everyone. What they stated is, with the videos, with the Google Map images, what have been produced, they said we will look into it. Simple word. No one is bothered about the citizen's life. No one is bothered about the life of the future. Water is the most important element for our survive. But for them, it is the money. Money is covering their eyes and they are acting blind. Which second point. So the moment this lake is being converted, with the support of I can say some officials in the government and loopholes in our law, people, the land grabber will go to one official like GHMC. They will get a permission for construction. First of all, permission construction in the lake or border body or into the buffer zone is unlawful. Still they will go, they will construct immediately. If anyone files or if anyone knocks the court of law, they will get a stay order. In the meantime, they will construct the total building and they will say that it is not possible for the destruction. Why? The moment when they get the permission, our loophole, what I said, the loophole in our law is the second department will give the second permission, because this they take it as a sanctioned document, which happened in the Capra Lake. I can give you the best example. We have got 634 is the survey number. May I know what makes the 634? It is a very clear cut evidence that the survey number in India of any land of any area is fixed, means it has been surveyed and demarcated, certified and signed by officials. So
Yes.
I'm giving you a literal practical example of one number 634, which has got 17 acres, 32 guntas only. Shockingly, the 634 GHMC of themselves have given permission for the real estate venture, and encroachment happens, it becomes 634. How much land extent comes under 634 is a big question right now. Means the area on the survey number gets increased the moment the encroachment takes place. Tomorrow it will increase to 25. Again, they will give 30. So are the government officials not acting blind by giving this increase in number of the survey number? So the lapse in the government, it has to be resurveyed. If the resurvey takes place in entire Hyderabad region, I can damnly confidently can say 99% of all the lake survey numbers are fraud, manipulated and shifted.
Yeah. Totally correct.
Second, the most important point is the lake here in Telangana, all government officials acted blind. We are saying lake. Lake means a water body. It cannot be a land. And the land grabbers, lake encroachers, place their notice board stating that this land belongs to. May I know how the
Yes.
lake became a land here?
Yeah.
And government, no revenue, irrigation, GHMC, HMDA, collector, no one has got guts to touch that board. So you can understand the political intervention and the power of money which is acting in grabbing of the lakes. The fourth important point over here is the moment this land, what they are stating as a land, is getting registered in the sub-register office. This is the most notorious crime what I observed. And
Absolutely.
I have given you the documents, and I can I think you can share it, Ankit. Like
Anjali,
there
which
there
document?
2233, 2234, and 2258 are the three documents which are part of directly lake. I don't know which sub registrar has got that legal right to register the lakes under the private party where it is a public property. So tomorrow, if anyone X will go for ask for this Charminar registration, Qutub Minar registration, Taj Mahal registration, will it happen?
No, it can't happen.
But it happened over here in the 2234, 2233, and 2258 are the document numbers which got registered in the sub registrar office, and he has signed it and executed it. And shockingly, this document they have produced in pledging for loans, means the public property is pledged into the banks to take the public money only. How intelligent are they, and how they lapse in the system we are witnessing right now?
Right.
And another most important point which everyone is missing over here is the intelligence, the cunning mentality, or the knackness of this land grabbers is they are just dumping free soil into the lake, which is also a free for them, converting them into real estate ventures, minting multiple millions of crores, and as well as they are pledging the same documents to the bank in availing hundreds of crores. So total, it's all public, and they are lavishly enjoying without any question or any uh, uh, legal action against them. And let me
Okay.
also tell you, there is a most important law point which everyone is missing, that income tax authority has clearly given directions or for the certain limit. If any registration crosses the sub register office or the concerned department officials have to trigger the email or the letter to the income tax that so and so X is getting registered for property of so and so amount, which has been lapsed in the three documents what I have named and given to you, that they have been registered for 35 crores. The lake property got registered for 35 crores without any question to date, and it got registered in the year 2008. On the basis of the document, so and so land grabbers have approached the Honorable High Court and got trying to get the stay orders. Where are we heading on? What type of signals are we delivering to the society? Where is the obstruction for them? Why GHMC, HMDA, irrigation department, lake protection cells are keeping quiet? And where public money is again indirectly looted. First public land is looted, now public money is also looted from the banks. I have got authentic evidence where I have given, and it has been proved that multiple 100 crores they have looted the innocent public money, and the case is right now under the purview of CBI. And CBI has clearly stated, yes, these are all manipulated, fabricated documents pledged to the bank and avail the innocent public money which was distributed freely. And there is one bank which has given blindly on the lake land. Now they are asking the irrigation department, can you please demarcate and give us the land usage, please, until unless, because we will be in heavy loss. These are all not the clear indications that we are just keeping blind. We are just acting. No department in Hyderabad has ever acted strictly. There is no stringent measure to date. So indirectly we can say everyone is hand in glove. The most important point what I demand from the government is, I don't want the government to be a spectator, but they have to play a vital role for the citizens' life at least, and take stringent action against all these criminal entities for future generations. Else the lake word will be an historical word shortly. Almost it has taken the word right now from Hyderabad, because there are no lakes, only on paper and marks. Now coming to your point, Ankit, you asked, is there any demarcation? Yes, there are proper demarcation of the lands. There are proper survey numbers with the extent of the lakes, but it is only on papers. On reality, nothing is there. because if you can take the point of Kapra Lake, it was an extent of 165 acres. Can any government official give me on paper or physically show me the 165 acres right now? No. If you go to the Wikipedia, it clearly states that 13 pillars have been removed and reinstalled according to the wishes of the land grabbers.
Absolutely.
And they're clearly stated that in the surveys by the different departments, that the lake pillars have been removed and it has been placed, grabbed,
Yes.
and the buffer zone has been found construction. There is a badminton court, and
Yes.
to our shame, I'm using this word with very maturity, to our shame, the same badminton court was placed to the Bank of India and they were availed multiple crores. Come on, where that here also the public money is being looted and we are acting blind. And if you go to the point of Patel Cheru, which is there in Miapur, the another
Yeah.
point, there are multiple apartments which have been constructed. There is a hotel by name Sadvika which was constructed
Yes.
inside the lake.
Yes.
And the
On top
nalas
of
have
the
been
land.
captured, nalas have been diverted. Where the nalas have been diverted? To other colonies. For
Yeah.
the lust of one person, the other colonies have been cursed, and the government official acting till blind. No nala. There was actually perfect feeder channels in the Hyderabad,
Yes.
Telangana region. Where
Yes.
are the feeder channels? Can anyone show me? Any official can show me the feeder channels? They themselves doesn't know, because it has been grabbed, constructed, and over which they have been diverted. Where they
Yeah.
have been diverted? To the other localities. All
Yes.
these things with evidence, with physical. We are not talking orally, we are not talking graphically. There are literally with apartment which are visible. Why these are not visible to any government officials, any department, until the construction gets completed? Shockingly, once the GHMC or any other department sanctions the thing, naturally blindly the banks will sanction the loan. So there also public money is looted. And in the point of second Cheru, what I'm talking about, Kapra, 13 pillars, they themselves in Honorable High Court, they have submitted the affidavit stating that yes, we encroached it, but there is no action to date.
Yeah.
Land grabbers have daringly stated, accepted their fault, that yes, we have occupied, we constructed the wall, we constructed the badminton court inside the lake. We removed the 12, pillar number 12, pillar number 13 has been moved inside to the lake.
Yeah.
Still there is no action. It is contempt of court. Actually, these people have to be arrested and put behind the bars. Then only public money,
Yeah.
public lakes will be safeguarded.
Yes.
And in all the surveys, HMDA survey, vigilance survey, irrigation, they have signed it that pillar number 7 to 10 has been removed. Pillar number 10 to 12, it has been moved. Pillar
Yes.
number 12 to 13, yes, it falls on the FTL boundary, but still there is a construction activity going on. How can going on? Why cannot be stopped? Today, we are witnessing a concrete building over there. So are we not supporting indirectly the criminals? Yes, all the government officials are acting deaf.
Yes. Yes.
Right.
Of course. Of course.
And finally, I would like to say, today we are not, this is not the flooding. I repeat, this is not the flooding. This is actually a blessing by the God, but is a curse by all the officials, where multiple lakhs of people are lost their lives. They're shedding their tears now, which no one is there to support them.
Mr. Kali, you are using this word FTL. So can you give us tell us something about what is this FTL means? Like how it is important in case of land grabbing?
Exactly. See, the FTL means full tank level. The extent of the lake will be in the previous decades, in 1900s to 18 to 19 to 1960, up to 1960, there was proper demarcation of the land. Means according to the water body, according to the rain, according to the slope, the lakes have been built by the Nizams with a very good vision for the future coming generations. Okay, let us take the point of one lake, a Kapra. This falls from the Ramakrishnapura, Neredmet, Sainikpuri, and Kapra. The rainfall, the intensity of the rainfall, the density of the rainfall, along with the area which was demarcated 165. So after the full tank level, there's not supposed to be any construction activity because the Honorable Supreme Court has clearly given indication. Means up to that extent, it is a lake. Means if at all heavy rain falls, if at all there is a heavy rain like what we are witnessing today, this water will reach only up to the full tank level. Means if at all any colony is right now immersed, means they are in FTL. It is not colony, it's a lake. Earlier there was no such instance which happened where the lakes have I can say submerged all the colonies, because they are sufficient. Now the lake land itself is being cut into pieces. The extent was totally grabbed from around. I can say around means I mean from all the surroundings. So the FTL means full tank level. Up to that extent, we are safeguarded. We are good to go. Means the highest fall of rain also can survive, can go to the lake. Right now you will see not water. All FTL are being encroached, concrete constructions, and as Lubna madam is fighting and Jasmine ma'am just stated that Lakeview apartment, this itself is the criminal word, what I feel, because if you observe in Hyderabad, I've done a very good intense research wherein which I found that all the eminent builders, I don't know why they first construct adjacent to the lake only, and no one questions.
Okay. Yeah, Dr. Jasmine, you want to say something?
Yeah, I'd just like to supplement what my colleague has just mentioned regarding the FTL. You see, there are certain technical features which very few, I think, even sometimes the members of judiciary are not well versed in that. They do not understand that. And it is important to understand that in order to pass a judgment or to understand the case properly. Now, every lake is formed by heading up the water. And when you head up, you head up by constructing a bandh. So every lake has a bandh. Bandh is at the downstream. So water from upstream comes and heads up at the bandh. And that is what constitutes a lake, a water body, what we call it. Now, this bandh has a little cut in itself in the construction towards the top of the bandh. That is called the weir, W-E-I-R, weir. FTL is the depth from the weir to the bottom of the lake at that point. That is called full tank level. Corresponding to this depth, which is a unit of length, corresponding to this, there is a water spread. When the water heads up, it forms a certain shape and it has a certain perimeter, which is the length of the maximum water spread. So maximum water spread is the boundary of the lake, corresponding to that full tank level. When the tank level at the weir is lower than the weir, then that means the tank is not full. Only when there is enough water and the water level rises up to the level of the weir, it is the maximum level that it can rise. If it rises above that, then water will flow out of the weir. That is the design of a water body. And it flows out through the outflow channel into the next connecting water body. So you see, it is a connected system. So we are full. So by design, a lake cannot fill up beyond its capacity. Now, how do you reduce its capacity? Technically, which they have done in Hussain Sagar. You lower the weir level. Suppose there is a cut, you lower that cut. So at a lower level, the water will start flowing outside the water body. That means the water spread will reduce. So the full tank level will be lower, water spread will reduce, therefore the more areas will be left dry no matter how much it rains.
the surrounding areas, which earlier used to get filled up, which used to get submerged in water. But now they cannot submerge in water because the outlet to water has been done at a lower level. Weir has been reduced. All this is called fudging. It is illegal and it is a violation of the technical design of the lake. But this is done to legitimize the argument that the surrounding areas are not never getting water. They are not a part of the lake. No water ever stays, no matter how much it rains. All these blah, 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 blah kind of arguments. But this has been very cleverly engineered by lowering the level of the weir and therefore reducing the water spread permanently, in contrast and violation to the original design. So they have tampered with the lake. This is a clever way of tampering. So even irrigation department will say, Madam, FTL hai na? So that building is not in the FTL. And that is the way they bamboozle and they confuse even the courts. And let me tell you that the water spread and FTL of a lake is something like the date of birth. No person can change your date of birth. Changing the date of birth with those technical parameters is a violation of law. Irrigation department is not authorized to do it. And certainly not the revenue or any other department. That is one thing. The second thing is, as my colleague pointed out, Mr. Kaliseri pointed out, there are loopholes in the law. While you have revenue numbers for the land underlying the lake, the law does not recognize any legal category of a water surface. So the legal battles always get confused. They keep debating on the land below the water surface, but they don't bother about the water surface being reduced. So you may have a situation where somebody may have an entitlement to the land underlying the middle of Hussain Sagar because of earlier records and all that. Now, even if that may be legally valid, but there is a very strict stricture and a legal compulsion that even if you own the land underlying the lake, you cannot use it for any other purpose except for temporary agriculture when the water recedes during the lean period. But you cannot build anything on it. You cannot put a brick, not only in the land underlying the maximum water spread, even in the buffer zone, but temporary agriculture. This is a tradition. This is the Shikam land use legal compulsion, which is being violated. And these tricks are being played by the irrigation department to confuse the public and also to confuse the judiciary. And I think many members of the judiciary do not understand. They are illiterate about the technicalities of what constitutes a water body. Just a collection of water somewhere doesn't mean it's a water body. A lake is a very technically designed system.
I think Dr. Jasween has lost a connection. Sastriji, are you here?
Yes, I am.
So I have a question with you. Like the deluge, the flood that is.
Then you are in trouble. Sorry.
Okay.
Okay.
Sorry, Dr. Jasween, I think your connection was lost for the last 1 minute. So
Okay.
we not.
So, no, all I said was that these are the these are the technicalities, the technical parameters. What is a people think full tank level is the boundary of the lake. No, full tank level is not the boundary of the lake. Full tank level is the depth from the weir to the bottom of the lake at the point of the weir. And when the level of water reaches the weir, which is the maximum level it can accommodate in the lake, then corresponding to that, there is a water spread which has a shape and a length of the boundary, the perimeter of that shape. That perimeter is the boundary of the lake. And this that is the maximum. No lake has a permanent perimeter. The perimeter, this is the maximum water spread. then water will recede during lean period. Again, it will come up during a full tank level, it will go to that level. So nobody should think that just because in the lean period water recedes, that
Mhm.
the boundary of the lake has been changed. That is not, that is a clever, confusing argument that people give. So that's what I said.
So we have just 5 minutes left. I have just two questions.
Yeah.
One question for you, Dr. Jasveen, and one question for Mr. Kali. So, Dr. Jasveen, your comments on this: that the deluge, the flood that is happening. Is it happening only in the encroached part, or is it happening even outside the encroached part? Because recently I got a figure that 8,600 crore, about this much of crops are lost due to floods. So is it in the encroached land or outside of encroached land?
No, certainly in rural areas, it is a very different problem. There it is not because of the encroachment in the rural areas, because there is field land and water, the crops have been inundated in water. So that is certainly a natural disaster for them. And it depends, the drainage system of the fields properly is also not, needs to be looked into, but that is a different issue. But I'm talking about the urban floods. And urban floods definitely are, I mean, the water will flow from upstream to lower stream areas wherever it finds a passage. It's as simple as that. So those areas will get flooded, which have a surplus flow, outflow from an upstream area into their area. That's it. And that happens in a very random fashion. It did not happen like that during Musi floods of 1908. Please keep that in mind. The floods of 1908 were only around the banks of Musi River. They were not there in the rest of the area, where there were lakes which managed to carry water from there. So decentralized floods which are happening today, even with a normal heavy rainfall, are a created phenomena due to the corruption of our rulers, present day rulers.
Okay, yeah. Thank you, Dr. Jasween. Mr. Sastri, I have this last question for you. And even one of the viewer has asked this question. He has asked, like, what about the lake outside Hyderabad? Are they worse than the lake inside Hyderabad? And how the drinking water demand is being met in the Hyderabad city?
The lake outside of Hyderabad in rural is different, entirely different with the lakes which are in Hyderabad, like in urban, as Justin ma'am just now said. The thing is, if the lakes have been properly safeguarded, if the grabbing doesn't take place, it has got the capacity to rain, to the conserve the water when the rain in the rainy season, thereby it supplies the drinking water in the summer season. But it is vice versa right now. Either it may be rainy season, people has to cry with floods. In the summer season, with the scarcity of water, they need to cry. The thing is, there is a water mafia which is on the top notch level right now, and it is clearly stated and it is known to everyone that 3,000 crores is the earning in the couple of months in the summer season by the water mafia only in the city limits of Hyderabad.
Shocking.
And they go for n number of bores in the stipulated land only. For example, there is a Volta Act which clearly states that you cannot dig and suck water. But in Hyderabad, there are water mafia which runs 24 hours with digging the plots and making a big potholes to save this water and sell it on the high rate. Where it is supposed to be the right of a citizen to get free water. None of the government, either the previous or the present, I don't know about the future, has looked into this concept that it is the minimum responsibility of government to supply water for the citizens who have voted them to power. But all these lake bodies, let us take, if really been safeguarded, there will be never a word called water scarcity in the region of Hyderabad or any city in the nation. There are multiple bores which have been sucking the water round the clock, that too against the Vault Act with 10 to 15 HP, which is not permissible. And lastly, I would like to pinpoint one point. If we can see the ground level water survey adjacent to the lake, we need to go for around 1500 feet depth to get 2-inch water. If really the lake around the perimeter, I'm telling you about the perimeter of around 500 to 1000 meters only, the ground level water has gone drastically to such an extent that 1500 feet. So there is no water conserving in the lakes. This is a big mafia. This is we are
Yeah.
not looked into. And we are trying to get water from other regions, Godavari, Krishna. What is very necessary need? But God has gifted you so many lakes, so much of good rainfall. If properly it has been conserved, there is no need of any region to supply water to Hyderabad. Hyderabad itself can supply, like earlier it was supposed to be in the Nizam rule. The
Yeah.
feeder channels, please save the feeder channels. That itself is the life of all lakes. But where are the feeder channels? 90% they grabbed it.
Yeah.
So water is just flowing on the concrete land. So it
Yeah.
is not going to the surface of the earth.
Thank you, Sastriji. I think with this note we can conclude the session. So basically, personally, I thought, like initially when I took this topic, I thought it will be an environmental issue, and maybe a little bit of man-made, like climate change, because of carbon emissions. Maybe might be the intensity of the rain has increased due to carbon emission, to global warming. But when after this session, I can say it with confidence that it is a man-made issue. The present Hyderabad flood has happened due to collusion between the government departments, the collusion of some miscreant officials, which are giving preference to their selfish interests rather than life of the people. We talked about and we basically I still can't fathom that Supreme Court has given some guidelines, the High Court has given some ruling that the lake boundary, the lake contour, the contours, they cannot be changed. But still, the rules are being flouted by the officials, by the politicians. And how can map of lakes be changed? Still, I still can't fathom that. And also that if rain is happening, the flood is happening, why they are not damaging these illegally grabbed structures? I think the first thing the rain should do is, if the flood is happened, that it should at least destroy these illegal structures. Finally, I would like to thank all the speakers for taking out their sweet time to give our viewers the information, the present, I would say, the sordid situation of Hyderabad, how these mafias, how the government collusions, they are playing with the lives of the people and explaining us the loopholes in technicalities which are being used, which are being, I would say, promoted by these officials for their own interest. So thank you, Dr. Jasween, once again, and thank you,
Thank you.
Sastriji.
Thank you. Goodbye.
Yeah. Thank you very much.
Thank you.